Welcome to this LEX 18 Digital Conversation. I'm Davidson. It's a growing trend, grandparents or other relatives raising children. But when you find yourself facing this situation, where do seniors or those familiar or not familiar with raising children in today's world turn for help? The G.A.P conference is there. Joining me now is Diana Doggett. She's from the Fayette County Cooperative Extension office, and she has more. Welcome.
Welcome and thank you. Thank you for the welcome.
Oh no, Diana, let me tell you, we've talked about this before in years past, but it seems like it's a growing population of grandparents, other relatives, raising these children. And when we talk about grandparents, like we were saying before we started, it's not the traditional age.
No, it's not. Statistics will tell you now, of course we don't have everyone that reports in, but we have 65% are 60 years old or less.
Wow, 60 or younger.
Yes,
that are being called grandparents.
That's right.
And left with this responsibility.
That's right.
What's causing these grandparents to have to retake on the job of parenting?
You know, it's a lot of issues, but the number one, and by far, the majority, 90% or plus, would be substance abuse.
So the children are taken away from the parents, and instead of, I guess, going into the system, the grandparents step up. That's awesome. But, even with individuals who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they're still working. They're still of working age.
Approximately 50% are still in the workforce.
Wow.
Another 27% are at poverty level, so it's a real struggle financially. And most of these grandparents are having to dip into a retirement fund that they had saved and planned on for their last third stage of life, and here they suddenly are faced with not the responsibility of one child, but in many cases it could be up to two, three.
Oh wow, and sometimes little tiny ones.
Little ones, yes.
So now the bright part is that there is this conference that's out there to kind of give them, I guess, a place to debrief, to get answers. Tell me about the conference.
We're in our 16th year.
Wow.
I mean, that's amazing.
Wow.
We started at the Fayette Extension office 16 years ago, and I had some colleagues that had written a resource book. Were very visionary at the time. And it just gave all the resources that were in the surrounding area. And then when we saw that was just really being requested, we said, why don't we just have a couple of sessions and talk about a couple of issues? And now you look, and we've grown to, we've outgrown our office. We're at the Clarion Hotel. And we work every month leading up.
Wow.
We meet as a coalition, the Bluegrass Regional Coalition for Grandparents as Parents, and we do our research too. We have a lot of grandparents and relatives on that coalition, and we bring to the forefront those issues that we know that are relevant right now that these grandparents are facing.
So let's talk about a few of them. Besides finances, because it's so expensive to raise a child these days. Just with the basics.
Just with the basics.
We're talking about, in fact, today, out at Frederick Douglass, we're talking about violence in the school. So is that an issue, a concern for these grandparents?
Well, it is. They have so many issues that are facing them. I mean, obviously we're going to be addressing, shedding light on substance abuse and opiates, and that's in the news every day now. And so many of them they don't know the signs. They don't know the measures to take. They don't even know what conversation to have with their children. So that we have a great workshop that's going to deal with that. Really, the most requested is legal assistance.
Huh.
Yeah. Because most of these families are faced with either they have volunteered to take the child, but then there is a circumstance created where there's leverage, perhaps with the parent that hasn't received enough health counseling and rehabilitation. So there's this back and forth and this fear and not having guardianship legally or custody. So they're just reaching out how to solve that problem. So the Lexington Bar Foundation really steps up to the plate, and we had close to 50 consults. So a grandparent can sign up and meet with an attorney.
Right there at the conference?
Right at the conference.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and receive that legal advice that will help them proceed with the steps that they should take in their circumstance.
Wow. Now, what about health care? Because if they're not fully adopting these individuals, they can't really carry them on their own coverage.
Well, they can with guardianship.
Oh,
now.
they can with guardianship.
Yes, they can.
Okay.
And so we also have a resource consult that you can sign up for as well.
Okay.
So you can sit down with someone that can map out all the eligibility that you can be afforded.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that is just tremendously helpful to someone who can't just get in their car, and even if you did, knowing where to go and being able to immediately see them. I mean, how difficult is that for any of us when we're trying to go through all the red tape? So this has really been a great resource. What we've added the last 3 years, I think we've offered these.
Wow, but it's not just a one-day type of thing. You guys are there 365 days, aren't you?
We are, and when we plan these workshops, I mean, many of these speakers that give it their time and their expertise, they're available to come to some of our support groups that are throughout the area, and more than willing to do that, and we're just so appreciative. Some of the other topics that we're going to talk about is tips and resources for children with autism.
Oh.
That was most requested last year.
Really?
Yeah. In our Fayette County support group, which meets monthly, it's the fourth Monday of every month, and I would say 50% of those grandparents are dealing with a child with autism.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of it is because they're not familiar with these things from their own children.
No, and some of the research-based therapy, all the best practices are relatively new. I mean, you know, we're finding out more and more every day, every year. So we're going to bring all those to the forefront for those families that need that at this conference. We also have a great workshop on advocacy. You know, this is a group that is pretty much isolated.
Sure. Already due to their age.
Already due to their age, and in many cases, I mean, their time is not theirs anymore.
Right.
You know, they have surrendered their time in their home, and you'll hear testimonies of grandparents saying that even their friends do not quite get it, and really don't feel like they have the skills to help them out. So they feel like even their social network has left them. And so it's pretty amazing how isolated they feel.
Yeah, because that's already an issue with seniors,
yes,
an isolation because of
is.
that. And then their own health issues. They're dealing with their own issues.
Are.
So their plates are really full, aren't they?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, close to 50% have a disability, I mean, of some sort.
Right.
So yeah, they're dealing with health issues. So advocacy, though, when we look at trying to improve state, local resources, it takes a united voice. And so this conference really has tried to give that voice, to this population. And a lot of gains have been made in the last couple of years. We're excited about this session of the legislature, and it looks like we're going to be able to get kinship care.
Oh, good.
Back.
Now, talk about that. What's that?
Okay, kinship care was afforded to grandparents or relatives up until 2013.
Okay.
If you recall, a recession took place then. Yes. And so obviously, state funding, local funding, they scrambled to find, measures to address that, and lo and behold, that got cut. Yeah, totally cut.
Oh.
So since 2013, there has been, no stipend or allocation of funding.
So then, how do they find the extra help that they need?
It's been a dire situation.
Oh, gosh.
It really has been. And so we have, they have been afforded KTAP, which has been health. That's health services, and that's been wonderful. But they lost any other funding that would help them with clothing or food, or anything like that.
Because kids grow out of things in the blink of an eye.
So we fully expect, in fact, this workshop will be bringing someone that's going to fully explain the eligibility and how to apply for that, and we're excited about that. And we're also excited about a House bill that has already received approval. It's in the Senate, but it's going to provide free legal counsel for those grandparents that are going
through the system
in the correct measure in order to ensure some security for these children, that they're not being taken back and forth based upon any.
Yeah, because that can just be so disruptive.
Oh my.
To whatever the grandparent is trying to do in the home.
And when you think about children and what there are a lot of challenges that are faced, obviously, by the custodial relative or grandparent, but and these children are bringing a variety of issues, and the effects on children are just, I mean, they're heartbreaking.
Right.
So, I mean, it's everything from the difficulty of concentration. I mean, their depression. I mean, most of them are very depressed. They're anxious, anxiety. They're angry.
And we're talking about little kids, 5 years old, having these issues
that typically have been subjected to things that they should never have seen or heard. They're insecure. They're fearful. They feel rejected, and they're very confused. So, you know, even though they're going into a loving situation, loving grandparents, they have all kinds of barriers that are up, and it's very, very difficult to break through those and have explanation for why they're different. So I think this conference really, when these grandparents walk into this huge conference room consisting of 200 to 300 grandparents and relatives,
but at least they feel like there's somebody else. Exactly, yeah.
Then they feel, you know, they do feel united, and they feel like that they're not alone, and that they're not the only ones that are struggling and feel incapable because of these issues that they're having to deal with.
What's the cost for this for the grandparents?
$5.
Wow. All of this for $5?
We have made a concerted effort that we want anyone that has the opportunity to come, and that pays for the lunch.
Sure.
It doesn't really.
Right now, I was going to say
no. But we want to make this affordable. It also is for professionals, because these speakers are so well known.
Right.
So there's CEUs that are allocated for professionals who do pay more than that. Sure. But we feel so privileged to be able to. And passionate to help and embolden these grandparents, and just to address any need that they've got, and to tell them that, you know, there are people willing to listen. And our keynote this year is she is just amazing, Paris Goodyear Brown. She has 20 years of experience, and she's a licensed clinical social worker, but her claim to fame in these 20 years is that she has worked on play therapy. And it's clinically sound.
Yes.
And it's to help grandparents as well as the child to be able to bring out all of those fears and all of those hidden, regardless of what they've been through and what they've seen, and to be able to help a parent create a narrative for that, and do it in a very, very, very skillful way that has been proven clinically. Really, so she's going to be amazing with helping them bridge that gap, which is often so difficult.
But that's usually the first step, is the open communication and trust to rebuild that. It's easy to lose it in a hot second, but it's hard to rebuild.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So we're excited, but you know what we want, a message we want, and we've been really, really excited that it started here in Fayette County. It's grown. This conference is by far perceived as the state conference. Each and every year.
Oh, so you don't have to just be from Fayette County for this?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
No. We will attract from 20, 25 counties across the state.
Oh my gosh.
You know, maybe, you know, we never know.
Right.
And many states will send a group of professionals, whether it's a family resource center, extension, public schools. I mean, anyone that's interested, grandparents, and then they go back to their counties and formulate some local coalitions.
That's wonderful.
And that's what's really made us so thrilled, because you know, you can't just check in, you know, one time a year.
Right.
Even though you get very, very useful information, it's that ongoing ability to talk to someone. So we have a lot of resource support groups here in Fayette County, and we're just seeing so many of them spring up throughout the state, and that's what it takes. It takes that 365 year. I had one grandparent that has been coming for a year, and you know, when you talk about why are they children placed, I mean, substance abuse, murder, you know, the death of, murder, whether it be the death of, it could be another reason, but death, incarceration, just illness, and lots and lots of reasons. But I have this one grandparent who has all those, each and every one of those issues.
Oh, you're kidding me.
I'm not. And they were living in New York. She and her husband were looking forward to retirement, and suddenly she loses her child due to a murder, and then the husband is incarcerated, and so here we go. She's down here raising these grandchildren, and so everything's going well. She's really outspoken, very, very eager to just any information she can get for the children, and things are going well. And I come back from Christmas break, and they tell me someone's in my front office, and I go up, open up the foyer, and she's standing there, and she looks. I mean, I was just immediately knew something was terribly wrong, and her husband had just died.
Oh gosh! So now she's a single grandparent.
Yes, with 3 children.
With 3 children.
With 3 children. And so, if anybody needs someone to talk to, and to lean on, and to tell them the next steps of what's available, and how they can apply, and how they can deal with the issues that these 3 children themselves are facing, you know, in the realm of 1 year. It's her, and so she's just depictive of a lot of wonderful people out there who have greater love than most of us can ever imagine. But it is there, and you know what's so surprising about when you're asking for support for this very needful population. If a grandparent is willing to step up and provide a safe and loving home, but suddenly they can't afford it, they can't make it, then guess what? The state comes in and the child becomes a ward of the state. Guess how much that cost? A what?
I'm sure.
So comparatively,
and it's not just financial; it's emotional for that child then to be ripped again.
Yeah, put all that aside. But when you compare, just do the math. You know, investing in these this relatives is it's almost like a no-brainer. And so we just have to continue to advocate and say they need help, and we have the resources. Cooperative Extension, we have research-based information, we can get them connected, as well as our family resource centers and the schools, area agency on aging, have lots of resources. I mean, we are a community that can surround this population, but we need the recognition that there is such a need
out there.
There is 77,000 children being raised right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's so true. It's a cliche that we use, that it takes a village, but it really does. It really does. It does take everyone to pitch in for every one of the children. Yes, indeed. Diana, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for watching this LEX 18 digital conversation. Be sure to watch more conversations on lex18.com. Until next time, I'm Dia Davidson.